Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I, to the scientists that are here and some of the other folks that are dealing with these issues on an ongoing basis, I kind of have a statement I want to make because I think the notion of trying to create further transparency is meritorious. I think when we're dealing with the challenges facing the Endangered Species Act, I think many of us who feel that there ought to be changes or modifications to reflect the reality of the challenges we face today in species recovery oftentimes get drowned out. When we talk about best science available, we know that to take a follow-up on the comment from the gentleman who just spoke, Mr. Flores, the science is changing, so we learn more. And so the best science available is never a stationary place. And I think that, we can look to all the experts, and we do, National Academy of Science and others who opine and write opinions on changing developments. But our credibility is always lacking when we have difficulty in species recovery. And of course, with changes in climate, we have a lot of noted biologists, scientists, and others that say that it may be literally an impossible feat to accomplish to recover species in which water temperatures are changing over a period of time and other factors, and we don't take that into account. So I guess in terms of our credibility, how do we define success? How do we define success in species recovery? And oftentimes, you talk about the California condor, we talk about salmonoid recovery. There's a whole host of issues that I'm familiar with on the West Coast. The fact is that oftentimes there are multiple factors that cause the decline in these species. And so when we deal with most of the time from a regulatory standpoint, we don't have the ability to deal with multiple factors. And it's like trying to fly an airplane when you've only got one control, and that is over power, and you don't have control over the ailerons or other elements that would factor in. So who wants to try to take this on when we talk about changes that are necessary in the law?
I'd be glad to jump in. And as you know, the Delta smelt is a case where, because the data are public and available, there have been, over the last 2 years, 3 years, 6 papers, including a paper by scientists at NCEAS, to re-examine all the data set and look at it in new ways and trying to figure out what are currently the problems for the Delta smelt. Not the past problems, but the current problems. And
right.
One of those identified is the ammonia deposition caused by the Sacramento wastewater treatment plant, something that people hadn't considered before. But because the data are public, it's possible to have that kind of...
Our predator bass.
And predator bass.
That consume a lot of the smelt. So how do we get there? And then you have the gentleman from Davis, a noted fish biologist, who indicates that as water temperatures continue to increase over the next 4, 5, 6 decades, that it may be impossible to recover some of these species.
In that one, you're facing an ecosystem collapse.
Yeah. Sir, if I can answer your question.
Well, it changed, but millions of years before, and we've obviously are impacting all of it, given. But the fact is that species have declined and have become extinct as a result of a meteor hitting the in the Yucatan Peninsula. There's a lot of things that cause factors, right?
Mr. Costa, if I can address your earlier question, how do we define success in this area? I think we can define it in a number of ways. We start with avoiding extinction of species we've identified as endangered. We've done a good job of avoiding extinction. Secondly, and perhaps most importantly, measuring our ability to make a more secure future for these species. As I indicated, many species, although still endangered, have a clearly more secure future ahead of them because of the...
But is it fair when we have multiple factors that are causing the decline of a species to only use one?
We have to address all the factors, sir. You're correct about that.
But we don't do that.
We try our best to do that.
I can cite many examples where we're not.
There's certainly many examples where it is very difficult to do that. We have more or less success doing that, but in every instance, we try to address every threat that we can.
All right.
Time of the gentleman has expired.